Hello all. This video is to learn how to navigate in SchoolNet. Through this video, I will show you how to find reading passages that are accompanied with the questions for that passage, find math problems, and also how to create a test with either one of those. You also learn how to download tests once you have created a test, and how to schedule a test for students to take either for testing purposes or for practice. So I'm going to share my screen. You will need to make sure that you are logged into your NC Ed Cloud account. You can do that through ClassLink, or you can go to the TCS home webpage and log into your home base account. Once you are on the NC Ed Cloud dashboard, at the bottom you will find the icon for SchoolNet. SchoolNet is a red circle with a white house or white school inside. Click on the app and your dashboard will appear for SchoolNet. Now, a lot of the information here in the middle of the screen are news events. So this is kind of like your notifications or your news or what's going on in SchoolNet. So some good things to read there. There are also information about training in SchoolNet and anything that is added to SchoolNet or has been removed or updated. Also in the middle of the screen, once your students have taken assessments, once you go into My Classroom, you will be able to click the reports of to look at the to look at the grades or the scores or so forth of what students have made on the test. There's also a planner button here when you're trying to schedule things and schedule resources. There's also a way to search materials and to find assessments as well through the district or that is already housed in SchoolNet. So a lot of these other things you can kind of search around, but this just kind of gives you this page here will give you an overall view of any kinds of assessments that your kids have taken, and also their classroom profiles down here. So just kind of a hodgepodge of just information for you as the classroom teacher. If you look on the left side of the screen, if you will go straight to assessments, like I said, the biggest thing about SchoolNet, just go in and play around. You can't break anything, you can't mess anything up. But there is a tab for instructional materials. We're not going to look at that right now. I told you about the reporting. So those are things that you can look at on a later date. So if you go to assessments here, you can actually click on the triangle to actually be more specific with your assessments. But I'm actually going to click on assessments. I'm going to show you two ways. So when you come here and you click on assessments, the test dashboard appears. So this is where you could actually search for assessments as well. Or you see right here where it says create a test or create an item. Create an item means you're actually going to create a question stem or a question with an answer choices that will actually be located in SchoolNet. We're not going to actually do that. You can also find a test here. So if you click find a test, this is where you will actually search for a test that's already been made. So you will put in the test name or ID and some of the other things like the subject, the grade level, and it will actually find a test for you if you were trying to look for a test. Right now, we're actually going to create a test. So you can click here for create a test. And as you can see, you have two options. Well, technically three, but we're not creating any items. You have two options. You can create an express test. So the express test is very quick. All you will actually do is select the standards that you really want to have covered, and then how many questions you want. And actually SchoolNet will find those questions for you and actually go ahead and create the test. So basically, you're not really looking at each passage with questions or looking at each math question, but SchoolNet is kind of creating it based on the standards that you want covered. That works very well when you're just trying to do a simple quiz. But if you really want to build the test and actually be able to look at the questions and the problems and the passages that you would like to choose, then you will need to go to create a test manually, and you will click start now. I'm going to show you the other way that you could have done that right here on this tab. If I click the assessments and I click this little triangle here, as you can see, I get items that came up on underneath assessments. So here is the find test, which I've already showed you. Here's the create again. So if I click that little arrow, it gives me the same things that we said before. We don't want to do answer key only because answer key only will not show you any of the passages. It won't show you any of the questions. And then there's also, of course, you're going to find the test, item banks, and create again. So what we want to do is I'm just going to stay on this page, and I'm going to click start now, and we're going to create a test manually. You also could have did that right here, create manually. So once we are creating the test, you're going to have to build it. So you have to give the test a name. So I'm just going to call this sample reading, because I'll show you how to do a reading test and how to do a math test. So, and this is also the way that you will find questions as well. So this is pretty much the easier way, I think, when you're just trying to find questions. You really don't want to assign a test, but you just really want to find questions or find passages, and you can title it any way you want to. So let's just say that I don't want to create a test, but I want to find questions about fractions, maybe adding and subtracting fractions. So I would probably put my test name as adding and subtracting fractions, questions only, or practice, or so forth, and do the same thing. Just like if I want to do reading, I want to find passages dealing with reading literature and certain standards, and I would probably name it that way. And if you're creating a test, of course, you would put test in the name. So we're just going to kind of play around and show you how to create a reading test first, and then I'll go back and show you math. So this is, we're going to call this sample reading. The subject, of course, is going to be English language and literature. Okay, so make sure you click that. The grade level, for whatever grade level you are looking for. So let's just say we're going to do fourth today. And notice when I put in fourth, it defaults to fourth. So it's saying fourth to fourth. Now, let's just say I wanted to have a mixture of grade level and standards there. Then I could actually put third to fifth. Or if I was a math teacher and wanted to go a little bit lower, but still also stay on my same grade level, I could put third, fourth. Third to fourth, or third to fifth. So you can kind of play around with this. Most of the time, because you are testing with your own standard grade level specific standards, you will probably use fourth to fourth or fifth to fifth. You will keep this number of items as one because we are building the test. You can click all multiple choice, which means everything that you find is going to be multiple choice. I would leave that unchecked because sometimes you may want to have them have an open response, especially fifth grade. You may want to have some technology enhanced items. We have learned with fourth grade on the EOG test, there will be technology enhanced items on that test. So you probably want to leave that unchecked so that way you get all the different options for answer choices. Where it says preferred standards document, I'm going to put English language arts here because I am looking for questions or passages dealing with reading. Select standards. If you click here, you can go ahead and select the standards that you're actually looking for. You can actually do this on another screen, but since this came up already, I'm going to go ahead and show you this way. So because this is ELA, there's several different standards. If I just clicked this whole thing, then 948, anything that's associated with all the language standards are going to come up for this test, and you will be searching all day long. So you want to actually click the arrow button, and this gives you more choices. The plus button adds, we don't want to add it yet, but if you see, I want to just go, let's say I just want to do all L4 context clues. So I'll click that arrow, and then I will just say, okay, I'm on L4. So it's already telling me that there are 70 items that are included with this L4. And then I can continue with all the other standards. Let's just say for today, I want to do some reading literature. So I went down to the reading. Here's the reading literature. I'm going to click on this arrow again because I need to open that up because there are a lot of standards under reading literature. And also sometimes there are substandards with the standard. So keep clicking the arrow until you get to the last thing. So right now I know this is the last thing. There's nothing else to open here. So let's say I want RL1. Let's say I want RL2, and let's just say RL3, and that's all I want. And then I will click save and close. Like I said, I will show you there. If you forget to do it on this screen, there is another part of the test where you can do it the same way. All right, so test category, my classroom means if I make this test, or if I find these practice problems, then I'm only able to show it for my students, the students that I teach, my classroom. So if you want to do it by, actually, I only have that capability, so I can actually change it around and make it be for the the whole grade level. So anytime you're doing something for the whole grade level, it's probably more beneficial if you ask me to help you. But if it's just specifically for you and your class or your students, then you will just keep that as defaulted because that's your only default. Answer key only, keep that as no, because if you click yes, you're only going to see answer choices. And all the other things, you just need to let it stay defaulted, okay? So you don't need to click any of these. Sometimes I do for the size, I do click 14, the higher one, just because 12 sometimes can be a little small for students. But you don't need to change anything in the test item defaults, the test settings, or test restrictions. Everything here you don't even need to worry about changing, or co-authoring, you don't even have to worry about changing. Now you're going to click generate test. And notice when I got that little, when I clicked the little button, I had a little pop-up. You want to use items from the item bank because you are not creating any new items. So now I'm adding items from the item bank, and the item bank already appeared. So let me show you, because I said I want to use the item bank, it didn't give me these options because it already knew I wanted item bank. If you do any of these options here, this means you are creating your own question. And so you can, if you want to go in and create your own question, that is fine. You have options for multiple choice, true, false, gridded, and so forth. But because we are not trying to do that, I am going to say from item bank. So once I'm in item bank, because this is reading is a little bit different from math when you're trying to actually look at things. So we want to go to the left-hand side because we need to filter out some things here. So where it says item banks, I do want to select the item bank. It gives you options. You have your personal bank. These are items that you have created that's in your personal bank. I probably wouldn't choose those because you probably have not built anything. Then you have SchoolNet items, but look at the year here. It says 2013 to 2016. I'm not going to click that because I really want the most recent ones, being that we're looking for things for practice EOG review. Now, if we were not really doing EOG review and I just wanted practice items, I could go back and use these because even though the standards have changed, it's not really a huge change that affected this bank. I do want to click Certica Bank. That is a really good testing portal bank. So you want to click that one. I don't want to do any Spanish. These are all CTEs. We don't use that. I'm not doing math. Here it says, do I want to do the NCDPI Classroom Bank? Yes, I do. Do I want to use the NCDPI Release Bank questions? Yes, I do. So these are the only options. So those are the ones I'm going to click. And I'm going to click Select Banks. So now, also on this side, I'm doing English Language and Literature. I already selected that from the previous page. My grade level is 4th grade. I've already selected the standards. If you remember, I said if you forget to select the standards, then this is the other place where you can select them. So we've already done that. Now I love this because here is DOK. If we notice that for review, most of our DOK levels came from level 2 and level 3, but the majority with level 2. So I'm filtering out, I only want level 2 questions. I might say, well, I want some level 3 too. So it just keeps filtering for me. If you remember, we had a lot of items up here and now it keeps dropping because it's trying to find the questions that match everything that I'm filtering. Bloom's taxonomy, I used to leave that alone. Question language, you want to make sure it says English. And the reason why I say that is because there will be things that may come up in Spanish, okay? So that we have filtered out everything. Now, the biggest thing, ELA teachers, is if I start looking right now, it's going to be very random. It might be a passage and one question, or a question, I can't find the passage. So what you want to do is click this gray button here that says Find and Group Items by Passage. So once I click that, now it has my passage with the questions with it, okay? So looking at this first passage, I can kind of probably tell it's fiction. So I'm going to scroll down. If you notice, you see the title up here. The title of this one is No Doubt About It. And it also, you can click View More if you actually want to see the entire passage, like you want to spend some time reading over it. Now, here are the questions. It tells me there are 34 questions that are linked to this passage. So of course, it wouldn't give all 34. So I'm going to show you how to choose the ones that you want. Notice what you're going to see is every question, because I keep scrolling down, the passage is gone, but it is no worries because for every question you see that there is the title for the passage. If I click, the passage reappears, okay? And if I click again, the passage collapses. All right, so it expands and then collapses. So it already tells you above the question when you scroll up that this is an RL 4.3. Also, if you hover over it, it brings up the standard, which is pretty cool because then sometimes you don't remember what RL 4.3 is. So now it tells you. So if you like that question, if you read it and you like that question, then you will click the box to actually add that to the test. And I'm trying to figure out where my box is. Oh, sorry, add button. This is very different from when I go in as administrator. So you will click the add button here, and that added the question. Now, you're probably saying, I got to do that for every single last one. That's going to take me forever. I'm just showing you if you just wanted that one particular item for that and you were done with it. But if you want to continue to add items, what you would do is you will go back to add item. I'm taking it straight from the bank. I do not have to filter out like I just did because it saved my filters. Everything that I decide to filter out, it went ahead and saved those. So I don't have to worry about going back and doing my filters again unless I want to change something. So now when you come back, you did see the add button, but if you notice now, I have a box button. I didn't see that at first, so if that ever happens, just click the add the item, go back out and come back in. Sometimes SchoolNet can be funky. All right, so if I like this question here, I know this is RL3. Like I said, the standard pops up. I can click this box, and now it's added to my test. Well, it's added. It's not added to the test yet. It's just added, kind of like in a bank or like a cart when you're shopping at Amazon. All right. So here I'm going to the next question. This is RL 4.1. I read it. If I like it, check the box. So it's 34 attached, which means once you get the ones you like, you can be done. You could have clicked select all and all 34 would appear, but I would never do that. So now I want to go to find the next passage and see what that's about. If I use my handle here and scroll down, as you notice right now, it says no doubt about it. As I scroll, it still says no doubt about it because those questions are still there. I can scroll down or I can just click this to let it all go away. And then if you do that, then the next story comes. So all I did was click that. It said 34 matching items. I can look at all 34. If I'm done with them, then I can just click the triangle with a little up arrow and all of it collapses, okay? If you forget that part and you just start scrolling, the cool thing about it is I keep scrolling, do you see if you saw the title change? So it was no doubt about it. And then as I scrolled, Arrowhead Farm came up. So that's the next passage. So it does tell you where the next passage comes in. This tells me I have 28 items linked to this. If I want them all, I select all. If not, select the one I want and I'm done. So right now, I think I selected 3 items and it tells you right down here, like your little cart, 3 items have been selected. If I don't want any of them, I go to unselect all. And if I do want to unselect some of them, then I have to go through and find those, okay? Now, I want to add all these to the test. So I'm going to click add to test right down at the bottom right corner, add to test. And those questions have been added. Remember, I had already added the first one. So those 3 questions went in order right here, okay? Now, what I can do is I can actually change the order of these if I want to, and that changes it around. So maybe I wanted to have my summarizing questions, then my inferring questions, and my theme question. I don't really suggest that, but maybe you're just trying to practice around with something. That is fine, okay? So let's look over here in this dashboard. We're going to look at one of the questions. It tells me it's multiple choice. It told me it's from the item bank. It tells me this is a passage. Maybe I forgot what the passage was about. I can click here and there it is. It expands the passage for me. Here's the question, my answer choices. It already has it, the correct answer checked, so I don't have to worry about that. If I wanted to add an answer choice, I could. Guys, you can also, ladies and gentlemen, you can also edit the question. So if I wanted to really change the wording of this question, and maybe I wanted to change the dishonest man to the honest man, I actually could go back and take that off, okay? So I can change it, and I'll just show you how you have to save it at the end. So because I changed the question, then I probably need to change some things in the answer choice. And let's say now, since I changed the question, the answer choice is now going to be C. Now, what happened is when I unchecked the box, you saw, a red came up. Anytime you see a red exclamation mark or red note, SchoolNet is telling you, see it here, something's not right, go back to the question. So since maybe I forgot, since I changed the question, now D is not the answer anymore, now it's C. And I can make that change, okay? Here I can add another answer choice if I choose to, if I want to add an E and an F and a G, but I'm not trying to do that because it's just multiple choice A through D. Here it tells me, is this the right standard? It is, so I'm going to keep that standard, because remember, when the kids take their test or take the practice, the reporting is going to be by standard. So do not change this unless you decided to edit the whole entire question and change the standard of the question. Then you would have to delete this and go through and click on all standards and find the standard that you want. This box right here, tools and manipulatives, formula reference sheet, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to add any teacher instructions, no additional properties. Everything is good. So then I would click save, because I want to keep this as it is. Another note before I hit save. Well, let me go ahead and save this. And once you save, you see that it is now saved. You're good. Now, in the top right beside each item, so I'm going to go back. Let's just look at item 1. Right beside each item or beside each question, the check mark is good, meaning that this question is good to go. Notice it has 3 other options here. I can replace the question. So if I hit replace, it's going to take me back to that passage, and it's going to allow me to go back to the questions again. And maybe I want to replace this question with, I'm just going to choose one. This one. Notice the checkbox is not here because I'm replacing one question, so that's why the add button came up. I want to click that add, and then it replaced that entire question. Maybe I want to duplicate that question, which I wouldn't see why you would want to do that unless you're asking the same thing in a different way. And then, or I can delete the question. But always make sure once you do anything that you click save. This is not like Google. It does not automatically save for you. You will have to click save. All right, so that part is done. I have found my questions. Let's say I am finished. So and I have saved everything. So now I'm going to come here. You can preview this as a test. So if I click here, all it does is show you what it looks like in a testing format. And as a teacher, you might want to go ahead and preview that. You don't have to, but if you're not familiar with SchoolNet and how it looks, then I would probably preview it. And now just you're in like the student, and all you're doing is previewing the test. This is what the student sees. So they see the passage and they get to mark their answer, and then they can hit next, and then the passage of course follows them, and they have their tools up here and so forth. Okay. All right. So when I have previewed it, I can exit out. It's not going to save your answers because it just was a preview. All right. So I'm going to click return to test detail because I have saved it. The test looks good. I am ready to proceed to the next step. So the cool thing about SchoolNet is it's just like reading breadcrumbs. It actually takes you step by step. You can't do one thing until you do the other. So right now we were in the phase private draft. That's because we are drafting the test. It is not ready yet. We're drafting the test. So before we move on to the next phase, it will ask you, what else do you want to do? Do you want to add instructions? So you can add instructions. Maybe you want to say, read the passage carefully. Make sure you select an answer for each question. You can add whatever questions you want. Whatever instructions you want. You can personalize it the way you need to. If you say, I'm not finished with this, I want some more questions, then you can go to add items and you can add the items. You can also edit any of these items. So if you look, this is actually the test. It has the passage here, gray, and it says item, 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 and then it goes on to the next passage and item and so forth. So let's just say, I want to, I don't really like that passage anymore, and I want to go back in and change some stuff. Then you can go to actions and you can hit remove from test. And if you do, that passage and the items will go away, and then you can add whatever you want to. You can also edit. You can go in and actually edit a passage and change some words around. That's a lot of work, but if you want to do and you feel froggy to do it, you can, or you can actually view the passage again. All right. Also here, if you look at questions and you see the actions buttons for the items, sorry, not the questions, for the items, I can view this, which I'm viewing it now, but this just expands the view. I can edit it again. Maybe I want to replace it. Maybe I'm looking at it and before I want to really finalize the test, I don't like the question, so I can replace it. I can remove just this question from the test. It won't remove the passage, but it will remove this next question. I don't worry about the timer off. That's a button that you only have to worry about. So let's just say I have looked over everything. I am good, ready to go. Then I am now going to hit ready to schedule. Okay. Now you have a pop-up that says, are you sure that you're ready to schedule the test? because it says now you will no longer be able to make changes to the test, which means I can't edit any questions, I can't take off any passages or so forth. So if you are ready, you're going to click OK. And now just waiting. And one thing about SchoolNet, always look at the top. If you see this spinning, then it is still working. So just remember that. And if you keep trying to rush it, it's just going to keep going slower. So now I'm in the next step of ready to schedule. And you see I have my schedule button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit schedule. And this is if I want to make this a test. I want to make it live, okay? I want to make it as a test. Now, if you do not want to make this as a test and you just want it to make it as practice, I'll show you just in a minute where you just need to download the test from. But if you want to go ahead and schedule this, not only as a test, but schedule it so kids can do it online, whether it's a test grade or not, then we are in the right spot. So now we're going to schedule it. So just like I said, it's breadcrumbs. This just gives you overview information. This was my title, and it tells you the test stage. I'm in ready to schedule, so just scroll down. When do you want your kids to start this test? So the dates, you have generic dates will come up, but you can go ahead and start typing in your date. So let's just say in the calendar will come up. You really, sometimes the pop-up blocker there doesn't allow you to see the camera, so I just go ahead and start typing in my dates, and then see this already picked up. Now, if I want to change anything, now I can go in and change the month and the day and the year. All right. End date, if you want it to end on a certain date, you will put that here. With SchoolNet, it defaults for 7 days as an end date, but if you want to make it 2 weeks, then you will need to change this end date here. Score due date, you don't never have to worry about changing this. It really is neither here nor there for us, so you can just keep that there, okay? So any of these you can look at, like some of these that I do check. It says share scores with my Power Teacher gradebook. So if you want this to go straight to your gradebook, you will check this here. If it was practice, then you would not check that. Okay. So that's a cool feature because then you won't have to worry about putting any CA test grades or quizzes into your gradebook. It'll send it there to your Power Teacher gradebook. This phrase right here prevents students from launching the test before the start date or after the end date. I usually do check that one because what will happen is if you don't, it'll go ahead and let them take the test. So you want them to have that window. So you would click that one if you want that one to actually go forth. Prevent students from accessing the test results until after end date. I really don't worry about that one because with our kids in elementary world, they really, you will actually tell them their scores. So you don't have to worry about that one. Here, this is if we were scanning tests, you don't have to click that one. So really the only ones that you will probably click here are the first one or the second one or both. So here it says, notice it has, hey, something's going on because it has a little hazard button or whatever. Test is currently unassigned. You will need to assign the test. So right now it says, do you want to apply the default assignment? Most of the time I don't just click that because I really don't know what their default assignment is. So you want to click select assignment. Once you select assignment, notice this is this teachers. So in here, I only want what section do I want this to go for? Because I just want it for ELA, I'm just going to click it for ELA. If I clicked it for any of those, remember first of all, it's going to show up wonky because that's not the standards that you had asked for. And you did not, it probably won't even come back correct because you specifically put in English Language Arts. Also, since if you are sending these scores to that certain subject in Power School Gradebook or in Power Teacher Gradebook, if you hit Science and Social, it's going to send those scores to all of those subjects. So you really don't want to do that. So I'm only hitting ELA and I'm going to click Save right here. Once I have clicked Saved, and just wait for it to stop spinning, now when you scroll down, it has been assigned. You can edit it now. You can edit the assignment if you want to. If you need to go back and make some changes, you can view it again. But I know it was 2 sections because you all teach 2 classes, right? So here you scroll down. You can actually, this is where it has test access. So this is how kids will access the test once they go on to SchoolNet. You can change this code. It doesn't have to stay as this code because it generates a code. So if you want an easier code for your kid, and don't worry about that just came up. Passcode may have been distributed to proctors. There's no proctors. So if you want to change that code, just highlight everything in the box and delete it out. And I might put it as read 1, 2, 3. Now, it'll also tell you if that one has already been taken, it won't actually allow you to do it. So that is the code that I want to use for this test. That way students can have it. It's very easy to remember. Do not, absolutely do not click this button right here. It's going to give you choices. Do not click require use of secure test or application. If you do, it will not allow your student to take the test or even be able to access it for practice or anything. So do not ever click that first button. Now, down here, you do want to keep these checked because you want the, it says display this test on the Take a Test widget. When the student opens up their home page, you want this test under the Take a Test so they will know, hey, there's a test available for me. Also, it says display this test on a review a test. If you are planning to review the test with kids, then keep that checked so they can always get easy access to review the test and they don't have to search for it. These here you can keep unchecked because it really, your test is already assigned to the student. So these three, it doesn't even matter. Item features, do not click any of those. We're not scrambling anything. We're not tracking student response time. We don't want to do any of those. Student facing features, do not do it as a time test, not unless you are practicing something and you want them to have it as a time test. But you do want them to have the option to resume a test, and you do want them to have the option to pause the test. Sometimes this one is not checked and you will have to check it. Leave this one blank as well, where it says show student scores upon test submission. We really, unless you want students to see their score, that's fine. So let me rephrase that. If you really want students to see what they made when they're finished, then you can click that. Normally, sometimes we don't want them to see it. So keep that unchecked. All right, so we have done everything and we're going to click save and publish. And this, now it just says, you know, are you done with everything? Are you finished? You know, oh, and I see why this came up. It says the passcode's already in use because it should have taken me back to the main page, so it didn't. So I'm going to put in a passcode that I know probably has not been in use. So let's just say pencil 321 is our password. Okay. And it can be in all caps or not all caps. It doesn't matter. Now I'm going to hit save and publish. All right, so it came me back to the main page because there were no issues and that passcode hadn't been used. So now at the top, now you see you have everything that you have said. Let me show you another spot before we finish because right now it's telling you that it is being published. You see this little pop-up and it's actually finished because it's almost in the completed stage, okay? So let's go back. We're on that main page. Remember, this is the page where we reviewed everything before we move to the next step. And let's go here to this left side, okay? So on this left side, there are test actions. There are things that you can do for this test. You can copy this test again. So say let's say this was a pre-test, and now you want to make it a post-test, and you want to use the same test over again. Well, I can actually copy this test. It will actually clone it, just like in Mastery Connect, and then you can revise it and do what you ever need to do. You can delete this test period. You can say, oh, you know, I want to take this out the system. Now, once you delete it, it is gone, so you can't recover it. Answer sheets, this is if we were scanning them. We won't have to worry about that. View usernames, track accommodations, any of those, no. All right. You can actually preview the test as a student if you would like to. So we already did that on the other screen, but it gives you an option again. Here, this is where you see you have student test booklet, either in the PDF version you can download or a doc. I highly suggested a PDF because the doc, the formatting can be a little off. So if you download it as a PDF, it's much easier to see. So if you click this, it will come up, it will have you save it and so forth. And also here's your answer key. So let's just say you're not using it as a paper copy, but you do want to see the answer key, then that's it right there. And then you can download the answer key. You don't need a cover sheet because we're not doing that formal testing. All right. Gradebook status, I'm not really familiar with, but this is where it can be shared. You already clicked that button on the other page, so that might be where you might have to go in and maybe change some settings. If you need to change anything as your schedule, so under schedule information, if you say, you know what, I needed this test to start a week from May 3rd, not on May 3rd, then you can go into edit schedule and settings, and it takes you to that page again where you can go in and schedule your test, and you can change those settings. Everything here right now is what you can change. The only thing you can't do is change the test again. Remember, once it's after that drafting phase, you can't go back and change the test. Associated resources, I never use that. Test properties is something you can go in and edit if you need to. Actually, when it gets to this stage, it's really kind of hard to go in and change some stuff. but this is where you can change the title and so forth instead of sample reading. A lot of times it'll tell you it's too late to change it. I just click on edit to be for sure. Just click edit properties, and if it allows you to, it'll tell you. If not, then it just won't. But anyway, you can also see all the test properties there. So the rest of the stuff we can talk about later, because you can get into customizing the test, but that's a whole nother ball game. So right now, if you look at the top, it tells you that the test is scheduled. It's not in progress yet because it won't be in progress until May 3rd. And then once all students have completed it or the cycle is finished, the end date is finished, and this will turn to green here. So you'll be able to see your breadcrumbs. So that's pretty much how to schedule a test and so forth. So the next part, math people, I'm just going to show you very quickly. It's the same as reading, but you're just now finding math. So let's say I want to do another assessment. Oh, and by the way, at the top, you have a notifications button. This will always let you know when your test is ready. So if I click that, it says the test sample reading has been successfully published. So that lets me know that it's ready. All right, that's all. And so let's create another assessment. So I'm going to go to the assessments, and I'm going to go to create. And remember, I'm not going to do express. I'm going to do manual, okay, because I want to build the test. And like I said, play around with the express, because the express just creates the test for you, but it chooses the questions for you, so you can't really see what questions have been chosen. So sample math, again, this time choosing the subject, I am going to go straight down to mathematics. Grade level this time, I'll do 4th. Did I do 5th last time? I can't remember. Let's do 5th then. I think I did 4th last time. You do not change anything in number of items. Preferred standards document, you want to make sure is math. And one thing about SchoolNet, if you don't click these, if you don't click anything and you forget, it won't even let you go to the next screen until you do. I can go ahead and select my standards from this page. Let's say I don't know what standards I want to use right now. So let's just say I want to wait, and I can. Of course, your only default is my classroom. You don't want answer key only, so you're going to have that no. Everything else is fine. You can change the font if you want to. You don't have to do this. It's just me. Everything here, I don't never change anything. So now I'm going to click generate test. And yes, I want to generate tests using items from the item bank. I don't want to create anything. So once I do that, the item bank just already appeared, because this is what I said I wanted to use anyway. Let's go to our filters on the left-hand side. So select the banks. I don't have anything in my personal bank probably don't want to use SchoolNet 2013 to 2016 items because it's an EOG review. I want to use Certica. I also now want to use any of the math sets bank here, and the classroom bank and the release bank. I want to use all of those. So I'm going to click select banks. So notice my number is probably going to keep changing as I filter. So it's 5th grade. Oh, now let's choose the standards, because if you don't choose the standards, everything is going to show up. So you want to make sure that you choose what you want to choose. So these are, of course, your problems of practice for math. I wouldn't even go through that. So now let's go to numbers and operations. So click the arrow key, because there's a number of standards under number of operations. And if I keep clicking the arrow key, see, it will let me go. One thing about math, you don't want to hit just MBT 7 and just hit that plus sign, or just hit this, because all of them will go into the bank over here. You want to click what you really want. So let's just say I just want adding and subtracting, and maybe I do want dividing, and that's it. All right, so and let's just say, let me throw some fractions on there. So we're going to go down to the NF standards. And let's go to some equivalent. Let's say I want adding, subtracting fractions here. So I'll keep clicking the arrow. See how I keep clicking until I can't click anymore. And I want to click solve 1 and 2 step problems. All right, so it shows you everything that all the standards that you wanted. It shows you how many you're going to find. If you say, man, I don't want that, I hit the wrong button, just hit the trash can and it'll delete it, and you go back over here and find what you need. Hit save and close. Now I'm down from that big number to 88 items. Now I'm not finding group items by passage, because this is just math, not reading. So now it shows you what questions do you want. So you read if I like it, and it shows you the standard. I'm sorry. You hover over it, the standard comes back up again. I like this one, so I'm going to check. Notice it got added to my little cart. Keep going. I don't like that one. I don't want to add it. Don't like that one. Read over this one. Oh, I want this one. And you just keep going until you get what you need. Once you finish, and remember, if you don't want any of these, you click unselect all. If you see some ones that you didn't want, go back and uncheck it. I'm going to click add to test, and I'm doing the same thing back over again. Here are my questions. If I want to edit anything, now's the time to do that. I'm fine with everything. I'm going to click save. And by the way, you can have as many questions as you want. You can make 120 item question test if you wanted to. I don't recommend that, but you could. All right, so I have saved this test. And so I'm going to go to return to test details. Once I go to return to test details, it's just like reading. I will look over this page. If I'm good with everything, I can add instructions if I want to. If I'm good with everything and I don't want to change anything, I don't want to edit anything, I don't want to add anything, I can keep going. Actually, you do not have to schedule a test just to get the PDF version and the answer key. I can stop. Let's just say I didn't want to make this online. I don't need to make it available. I just want a paper copy. Then you can just go right here to PDF version of the test booklet, PDF version, answer key, download it, and you're done. All right, so I'm going to schedule again. I'm going to say okay. And remember, if this is still scrolling, just wait. All right, once that is done, that's saying, hey, now you're ready to schedule because we are in the publishing phase. So hit schedule. Just follow your little breadcrumbs at the top. And just like we just did, now I can go ahead and put my dates in of when I want kids to take this test, when I want the start date. Maybe I want the end date to be this time. I just want them to do it for 2 days. So I put the end date as the 17th. Okay, score due date, it doesn't matter, you can keep that. If I want to share these scores this time, I can click that. Make sure you click prevent students from launching the test before or after the start date because you want them to only take it in that window. You don't have to worry about the other two. Remember, you got to assign the test because it says my test is currently unassigned. And you remember, because this teacher teaches 4th grade, it's not going to assign it to anything. I just thought about that. So let's just say that I do want to assign it to this. Let's just say it was a 5th grade class. That was my class I wanted to assign it to. Well, because ELA, let's go down here. Of course, she doesn't teach math, so that's why it's not coming up with anything. But you will click whoever it's assigned to. It will be 2 math classes because you teach 2 math classes. Unless you're trail. Click save. And you know what? I don't know if it's going to let me go through the whole thing because it's coming up. It probably won't. But I'm just showing you the steps again. Remember, we do not want to use secure tester, so don't click that. You want to keep those 2 clicked. You can change the code if you want to. If you don't want to change the code, you do not have to, okay? And don't worry about item features. You want to make sure these are checked. And like I said, if you want them to see the score, you can. Now, because I'm going to click save and publish, it's not going, it says the test is not assigned to you. Okay, yes, but remember, yours won't come up with that because it will be assigned to your class. So once this is assigned, it's telling me, hey, you see the little pop-up, your test is being published. And when it's time, when the kids are taking it, this will change. This light, well, it won't be white, but this will be a different color. And then when they're completed, this will be a different color. All right, so I have just walked you through on how to create a test, whether it's reading or math, and also how to just print a test off if you just want to print it, and how to schedule the test to send it to students. Once the test is scheduled and then the students log into their SchoolNet, just follow the slides that I sent you about how to access SchoolNet. The only thing they will need is that passcode. There will be a box in the top left corner that asks them for the passcode for the test. Once they type that passcode in there, you click start the test and they're good. The last thing I want to show you, so I'm going to go back to my home page, okay? Let's say that I created a test for you, or I created a practice for you, and you are trying to find what I created. Remember, usually whatever I create, I usually send the title of it. So if you want to find it, and it's pretty much it'll be an assessment, you'll click the assessments here, go to find, right here on the left side, go to find. Once you click find, you can enter the test name. You can also enter the subject. If you look at test stage, pretty much whatever I send out, if the kids have not taken it yet, then you're going to, all the boxes for private draft, public draft, ready, and scheduled should be checked. You probably want to check off in progress and completed if they have not taken the test and the test is not completed. Because what's going to happen, what they're looking for when you hit go, anything in this test stage that's clicked, that's what SchoolNet is going to try to find. Now, if the test has been completed and everything's done, then you can have all of those tests. Now, because it usually shows the most recent ones, you can see right now there's sample math, there's sample reading, those are my tests. And then if I click here, it's ready to go, okay? Well, it's not ready to go. It's ready for me to view. Sorry. So you can, as a teacher, now I can view it. So now I have the test, so I can actually pull this up on my active panel or my computer for the students to see. And now we're looking at the same thing. Now, if you want to preview it as like the students preview it, and you are trying to model test taking strategies, test taking skills on what to do, then this is when you will go in as previewed as student. And now you actually have the same tools that the students have, and they can go in and you can go in and navigate and do whatever you need to do. If anybody has read aloud, that's what this little section right here is. It is for, because it's a math test, the student, they defaulted as read aloud. So that's what these options are over here. And then you can help your kids navigate how to take this test, okay? So that's pretty much everything. Like I said, just play around with SchoolNet. That's probably the best bang for your buck. And I hope that this video helps you out. All right. Talk to you soon, my friends. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Anybody have change?